Global warming, economic crisis, aging population. These are just some of the challenges that societies in Europe are facing. Innovative solutions are needed to cope with them. These solutions must be spread across all economic actors to sustain economic growth. Policymakers invest in research and development to solve these challenges for the society. But what is the actual effect on productivity, economic growth, and welfare? The solution is to create a toolbox to measure the effectiveness of these funding measures. This is one of the many goals pursued by researchers from all across Europe working together in the EU-funded FRAME project. At the Center for European Economic Research, ZEW, in Mannheim, they came together with experts from science, policy, and practice to discuss the impact of innovation funding measures on the economy at the Midterm Policy Conference. The research partners are Bocconi University in Milan, London Business School, the Center for Economic Policy Research in London, Pompeu Fabra University in Barcelona, and Lund University. The project is substantially supported by the Fraunhofer Society, providing data and expertise. The project is coordinated by Georg Licht von ZEW.
Up to now, capturing public R&D in those macro models, which are used by policymakers for projections of how many resources they should invest. Those type of macro models are still at a very early stage. And so there is an urgent need for having more information about channels, public R&D translate into innovation, and also to rationalize some of these policy goals, but also for concrete planning of which type of measures might be more important, more efficient than others.
The experts discuss various approaches to estimate the impact of different public innovation policies on firms' innovation. One of these examples included an analysis conducted in France, which focused on the effects of R&D tax credit on innovation. Another presentation showed positive results of joint research conducted between the institutes of the Fraunhofer Gesellschaft and firms on their performance. Hence, public funding for applied research organizations like Fraunhofer contribute directly to growth and employment. How can these approaches be mirrored at the macro level? To provide an answer to this question, the European Commission funded a variety of projects, including FRAME. The discussion was met with great interest from the invited representatives from the realms of politics and administration. Its aim is to provide researchers and policymakers with a toolbox for designing new innovation policies. The exchange of ideas at this early stage of the project is already inspiring new approaches.
The work that is done in such a project, in particular in the context of like European partner countries, is extremely helpful because there's a lot to learn from innovation policies in other countries. For example, this morning we had a presentation on tax policies supporting R&D in small and medium-sized firms. And this is one measure that is going to be introduced in Germany according to the coalition treaty. So actually we use the advice we get from such projects through the ZEW and to enter into our policy recommendations how to design these programs.
Researchers have been exploring ways to design models that translate economic relationships into mathematical representations, like weighting influencing factors or choosing relevant success factors. Such an eclectic work environment promotes scientific exchange.
Every time that we see each other, we make the collaborations much more productive. It's much better than talking through Skype or over the phone. We are able to really look into each other's eyes and see where we're going and share our confidence and our insecurity. So it's very, very helpful.
The things that are being presented here are pretty new, so I don't think many of them would be already on the internet or in the journals. But also, if you just read it, it's very hard to understand all the details. And here you can actually interact with people, you can ask them questions on the presentation, you can talk to them in the coffee breaks. And that way you learn a lot more than if you would just be reading it on the internet.
FRAME is closely connected to other EU projects such as Easy Growth, Monroe, and E3U. This creates a broad scientific basis to provide policymakers with new strategies.
I think that this project financed by the European Commission like FRAME or Easy Growth are very important and can be very relevant because they can give insight or result on which policymaker can frame or develop new type of policy which in turn they could apply, so impact also the life of European citizens.
During the panel discussion, the economists engaged in a discussion with external experts from the Fraunhofer Institute, the European Commission, and the European Central Bank on the advantages and disadvantages of different forms of public support to foster R&D and innovation. Among their conclusions is that there is still no such thing as an ideal solution or a perfect model that can be used in innovation policymaking. The discussion also focused on the difference between private and public R&D funding, as well as on their impact on economic growth.
ZEW is actually working on looking at more detail into the what we call the knowledge production process. So far, this is a quite abstract configuration in endogenous growth models, where we don't know very well how, especially public and private research are working together in these knowledge production functions that we specify in our models are at the moment only look at aggregates, but the research landscape in Europe is very diverse. There are very different ways in which individual countries are organizing research, and therefore I think it is necessary to look at a bit more closely what is successful, which countries are successful in doing this, and which countries may actually have some room for improvement.
Researchers aim to find solutions to these yet unresolved issues by March 2019, which is when the FRAME project, funded under the European Union's Horizon 2020 Research and Innovation Program, will be completed.